Welcome to Deciphering Growth, the show that explores mental health from every angle. We bring you conversations with personal opinions, stories, and practical tips. We aim to break down the stigma and help you live your best life. So please sit back and let's dive in. Before we begin, we want to remind our listeners that this podcast represents the opinions of Tiffany Graves, Eric Stone, and the show's guests. The content provided is for informational purposes only and should not be considered medical advice. Please consult a healthcare professional for any medical questions. The views and opinions expressed are our own and do not represent those of our workplaces. Listening, reading, emailing, or interacting on social media with our content does not establish a doctor-patient relationship.
We're here, and
We're
it's
here.
technically, actually, I lied. This will not release in the new year, but it'll be the Wednesday before the new year.
When so we could send ourselves a message to the future, Tiffany. Like we could um pay your taxes, Eric. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh no, tax season.
Yeah, that would be my advice. And I hope the Colts are making the playoffs if this is getting released. Probably not, but I have hope. And if you're a Bengals fan, you already know the season's been over, so I don't need to send you a message to the future. So you already know. You already know. Um, we're gonna kind of talk though about New Year's resolutions. So we are a trauma podcast. We talk a lot about trauma and stigma, but this is a very, very common time of the year for folks to try to like work on making some changes. Like we really want to talk about it in a non-judgy way. I don't know about you, Tiffany, but sometimes I find people like really hating on people trying to make changes, or like they're hating on it's not even worth trying, or people who are making changes, the discussions like, oh, they're not going to make it, or so it's just very discouraging. So we want to just talk about like what are realistic goal setting things that people can do. How do we avoid that shame cycle? We want to do sustainable changes, and then maybe some things that we talk about as therapists, sometimes in counselors, Tiffany, that we use to build momentum.
Those are all wonderful things. I'm gonna
Yeah.
try. Gonna try and be on my best behavior.
Well, where's the fun in that? I don't know if I really want to meet today if you're going to be on your best behavior, because I did not get that memo. I have a lot
I
of witnesses that I did not get that memo to be on my best behavior.
I fucking hate New Year's resolutions. I hate them. I despise them. I don't know who invented them, but like, why? Why? Just
It's like
why?
gonna be it's a conspiracy from the wellness and fitness industry for them to spike their memberships for gyms. That's where it really comes in. But you know what,
They suck.
Tiffany, you're actually the perfect person, because I have something that I kind of was prepped, but I'm just gonna read it. So
Oh.
when folks are talking about new year, new me, we're talking about real sustainable change and what that looks like and how to set goals without burning out by February. So I maybe what you hate is the fad diet wellness goals that don't last beyond the first few weeks of January.
Well, not only that, but like it's the ridiculous ass pressure of like we need to do this thing and tomorrow's a new day and like I'm gonna change my whole routine and everything's gonna be different. And I'm like, guys, your nervous system doesn't like snap its fingers and be like, all right, I'm just gonna new pathway tomorrow. Like we we would not be here if that was like we would not have jobs if our brains worked that way.
No, I mean, you're right. The brain is complicated. I was like listening to some discourse about therapy and how like it's part science, but the type of science it is was an interesting kind of critique, but insight that we're studying human behavior. And so like all of the therapy interventions we have are about human behavior. Even if they impact the brain, we're impacting behavior. So we're going to start with a check-in. to just kind of build this connection and mindfulness. So we're going to do like a guided reflection. I'm going to lead this as we're sitting here. So I know
Don't
some of
mind
our
me as I get
listeners.
distracted.
No, that's okay. And you know what, Tiffany, you're just on the same page. So mindfulness is not mind being blank. Mindfulness is closing some tabs. So it's not, hey, as I do this guided activity, your brain goes blank, your brain is slowing down, maybe you're focusing your thought. But I know some of our listeners, like I do too, I listen to podcasts while I'm driving or I'm doing something. So please know, I'm not asking you to close your eyes. I'm not asking you to do anything that puts you in an unsafe position, or your children if you're watching or caretaking. Uh, but just take a moment, just notice your heart rate for just a second. Just take a normal breath in and out. And I want you just to try to think about, this is a big question, the last year, 2025. And there may be some pain coming up, there may be a lot of things, but just take a moment to notice that energy in your body, like Tiffany and I are right now. And I'm gonna ask some open questions, and I want you just to kind of notice your body, see where that energy is, see where your brain is going. And some of these questions are, what energized you this year? What are those things that filled your cup? What are those things that carried you to the next season, the next chapter? Your physical body may feel like butterflies, anxiety, relief, pride, different things. And you may just be like, you know what? Nothing. I got through. There's no bad. So we're not judging this reaction right now. Take another deep breath in. Take another deep breath out. And just think of this different question of what drained you this year when you look back. That may come easier. You may feel a heaviness in your stomach, weight into your chair, grief, sadness, anger, pain, numbness. Just notice those things. And if you're not feeling safe right now, feel free to come back to my voice, come back to this space. Don't have to go too deep if you're not wanting to do that. And the next question would be, what did you learn about yourself this year? What are some of those things you learned about you as a person? It might be a skill you didn't think you had. It might be a level of intensity you didn't know, grief. But we just want to have a gentle curiosity. We're not wanting to judge what you're noticing. We are just going to gently come back together and take a deep breath in, deep breath out. Okay, Tiffany, you are our kind of witness to this activity. How was that activity for you as someone that is not the biggest fan of New Year's resolutions and changes?
I mean, I respect the activity for what it is and like building awareness of everything that has happened this year. But I would be lying to you if I was able to actually corral my brain into focusing in on this and not wanting to vomit at thinking about the whole last year.
But thank you for your honesty, Tiffany. It's a great example that that activity may help some people, it may not help. One thing I like to tell my clients in therapy is that we don't want to just increase mindfulness if we don't have coping. So if you're barely getting by, not that I'd say that's what Tiffany is experiencing, but if you're barely getting by with anxiety and stress and you increase your mindfulness without coping, that's not helpful. So we're going to get into a little bit of why resolutions fail because I want to support people with realistic change. So in therapy, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are seasons if somebody comes in and they're in a crisis or it's a very serious situation. Yeah, I have to make progress maybe really quickly with that person, or we have to do a lot of changes really quick. But most of the time for therapy, we're looking at long term sustainable change, like patterns of how you treat people, patterns of how you respond to stress, anxiety. Uh, so that's what we're talking about today is like, we want to look at sustainable changes. Um, so there's a lot of pitfalls that come up with some resolutions and changes. So the first would be all or nothing thinking. I'm going to go to the gym every day. I'm going to go every single day, no days off. I'm going to drink going from drinking no water during the day to drinking 3 gallons of water. It may sound silly, but people do this all the time.
I
It may not
know.
even go ahead.
I can't. It's one of those things where like I don't want to invalidate anyone, or I don't want to sound like an insensitive asshole, but like, and I know it happens every day, even like outside of New Year's, but like that all or nothing thinking of like tomorrow it's gonna be new, and like it's just like I don't understand our fascination with pretending that like a day on a calendar, like a moon coming up and going down, magically is gonna make us into a completely different person. Like it's just the pressure to reinvent ourselves overnight is absolutely absurd. Like your brain just doesn't it doesn't work that way. And it like my brain just at the
This
thought
may
of
be the
this.
toughest episode for Tiffany to record, and we've covered some real doozies, including the Body Keeps score, where I think I almost melted trying to make myself read it.
Yeah, I mean, it just New Year's resolutions. It is essentially a setup for failure. Like it is just it's literally a conspiracy to be like, how can we fuck people up so that they think they're a failure and that we keep getting their money. Like it's crazy.
Whoa.
Like you're not gonna be a superhero by January 3rd. It's not gonna happen.
Tiffany came with some spice, and I'm here for it.
I am just
Uh,
not a New Year's resolution fan.
but I think you're not. I think maybe I'm sitting here and I'm like, we're not really talking about New Year's resolution. We're talking about like sustainable change. So, with the topic of New Year's resolutions, we're talking about sustainable change. But something, change can happen at any moment, any season. So sometimes it's easier if other people around you are making changes, which is why when you're hearing all this discourse, I think my goal, if someone listened to this, would be, hey, I can have less judgment for myself as I'm trying to make changes for myself and my mindset, because there's so much noise. And I think, Tiffany, you're giving the realness, the humanness of stuff of like, not everybody's this Instagram person, reality TV person that has millions of dollars. And, I've worked a lot as an addiction counselor, and I have heard many, many times, well, hey, my friend just stopped drinking cold turkey or stopped using XYZ substance. And it's like, great. That's not most people's experience. So we don't need to chase, well, they just woke up and they didn't drink anymore. That's not realistic for so many people. That's like the stories I hear about. Well, somebody just stopped smoking cigarettes. It's like, okay, yeah, great, good for them. And also like, that's not realistic.
Mhm.
Um, I want to talk a little bit about shame-based motivation versus values-based motivation. I will get spicy about this.
The whole fucking wellness
People,
industry convincing everyone they're broken. Anyway.
well, that's probably your end, which I'm happy to have a soapbox for you because I think it's there. You may already be on it. I'm talking about the idea of like the show intervention
Oh,
or make
God.
people feel like shit. And when they feel like shit, they will make meaningful change. I've not seen that work. I've not heard of that working. The people who already were probably not going to do something or make a change were already going to do it. What research would show is that folks who are getting shamed into change, they have higher rates of relapse. And then not only do they relapse, it gets worse, not better. So they have 2 weeks of, oh, okay, I go to the gym. But then when they inevitably stop going to the gym, they feel worse and it takes them longer to get back on. And this would be true for substance use, mental health, medications. I mean, pick which thing. We want to find the meaning. We want to find what people want. So I just want to encourage you. Maybe you've had really toxic people in your life. You can't do those changes for them. And respectfully, why would you do a change for them? They're not going to feel the impact of that decision. You will. So don't do changes for other people. I will give a slight nod to sometimes I've had clients make changes or people I know make changes because they're a parent or they're like, okay, someone's depending on me. I'm a caretaker. I have seen people that has sparked something for them, but I think you still have to be very careful of like, don't just do it for your kid. Do it for you. You deserve
Mhm.
to feel good just as a person.
Yeah. Change only sticks with you when it comes from your values.
100%. And, there's that dopamine drop that's going to happen after you have those first few weeks of making a change. You're going to feel amazing. Well, maybe not amazing after the few times you work out, but you'll feel pride after you work out for a few times and
Mhm.
going, but that dopamine level isn't going to stay the same. It just really isn't. Um,
Yeah. It'll feel good, and then real life will hit, and people will be asking more of you. And especially if you haven't done the work and you don't have strong boundaries, you'll wax and wane and feel stressed and pulled, and you'll be frustrated. And yeah, it'll be not fun.
so we're going to talk a little bit about things, but Tiffany's right on. And as you all know, we don't record this pre-recorded. We don't come in. We touch base on, hey, what are we going to talk about? But I'm with Tiffany, connecting with values, connecting with like anchor statements, like I'm a better person, values, connect with values. You will lead to where you want to go. I'm going to get a little sciencey for me and talk about smart R goals for just a moment. And so I love these. I really think they work, but when I say smart R, I'm talking about specific,
I need like
measurable.
a I need like a smart man. They're like smart goals.
I don't think everyone's gonna understand. If you're listening to the podcast, like I actually stopped like mid-sentence because Tiffany like just put her hands up like she was holding a sign, but there was nothing. It was just her hands into like fist, and she was saying, "You need like a sign."
Here
And
we
I
go.
don't. Oh, now Tiffany has made a sign that says "smart." Well, thank you. You can carry that around anywhere I am. I'm fine with that. Gosh, that's hilarious. This is one of my favorites. Um, Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, timely, and with a reward. So we're going to give an example of this. So maybe the goal is I want to be a more connected person. So the goal could be I want to be more connected to my friend network in Cincinnati. I want to go to one friend event a month with for the first 2 months of the year. I don't know. And if I do this, I will allow myself to buy the board game I've been waiting to buy, um, because that could be something I could do with my friends. So that's kind of a lighter version of this, but I really think the reward part is meaningful. Tiffany, like we wait for people to have that we see people all the time that are waiting for this big long-term goal to be hit. And that is amazing. And I don't want to take anything away from celebrating that. But our brains with those milestones can help us like make it like chapters of a book and mark that part of the journey. Our brain really struggles to remember the middle points. And so we sometimes need that incentive to kind of remember why we're doing it.
Yeah. The journey is what's worth it, not just the end goal.
So again, don't just pick goals that people tell you to do. I'm going to call myself out. I don't want to go to the gym right now. I want to be healthy. I don't want to go to the gym. So I'm not going to bullshit this podcast or the people in my life and say that I intend to go to the gym right now because I don't. But let's say I did and I really didn't. Now I've kind of gaslit myself. And then I get to feel bad about, well, see, it's really hard for me to go to the gym. So when I want to do that, if I'm motivated, like, okay, but I am not doing myself any favors by being dishonest about what I really want to do. So that's not a value I have right now. A value I have is I would like to slow my life down, have less on my plate, and right now that feels like more, not less.
Yeah.
But that's for me. Doesn't have to be for everyone.
Yeah. It's one of those we live in a culture where we adopt goals that aren't even our own. And then so many of the resolutions are about social comparison, guilt, or family pressures. Like just stop and ask yourself, is this a genuine desire I have for myself? Or am I just borrowing an expectation that society's placing on me?
Whoa. Tell you, I don't have a sign for you, Tiffany, but I would say that was very smart. I'll make one for you. One of my favorite things about sustainable change that I really love making sure people know about is micro goals. So let's say the goal is to work out 5 days a week. Don't make that the goal. Make the goal, I'm going to put workout clothes on the night before every single night or 5 nights a week. You've taken one less barrier to getting that activity done. So this sounds silly, but one of my goals for a while was to text some of my friends more often. So I would just commit to pulling out my phone and going into my texting app. That's all I committed to every day. Well, y'all can probably imagine I was much more successful at that. I always have my phone. Boom. I'm reaching out to people. And it just kind of gave me a reason to be like, oh hey, it's my goal. I'm gonna check in on my friends. Um yeah, yeah, yeah. Tiffany, I feel like I'm just boom, 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 boom. Do you have anything that you want to add on?
With meaningful goals? Or like where do you want me to find?
Oh no, no, no. You're your own captain, Tiffany, and I am your colleague. So you get to go whatever route you want.
Well, uh, I don't know. I just change is important as long as it aligns with your values. It's just really hard. I can't lie about this. It's really hard for me to get off like the hate boat for like what we've made January. It's so like it's a $1 billion like shame month. It's just a month of shame. And it's so frustrating. I just it's like I want everyone to know you don't need permission of a calendar or a coupon code or like the broken like wellness industry to make a decision to change. Change can happen like in any season, not just the shameful month of
I'm
January.
so sorry. Tiffany has never been funnier to me. And my like I if there was an episode to confirm we don't do live on live recordings, this is the one because I can't stop giggling because I did not realize how much you hated New Year's resolutions, and I think it's hilarious. I actually think it's awesome.
They irk me to no end because it's so often I'm like, all right, new year, new thing. I'm gonna like start off the gate and do it. I'm like I don't again, I don't want to be that pessimistic like a-hole, but like you're not. I know on a neurological level, like it's not very common for someone to wake up and be like, 5 days a week, I'm going to the gym for an hour and I'm gonna do it. It's totally fine. That's my new routine. Some people can do it. Majority of us are not. Like your neurological
Mm.
system does not change that quickly. You have to micro shift it into forming a new habit, a new lifestyle change, not a boom, we're done.
So today I just have two questions for you. One, who hurt you? And two, what are your New Year's resolutions? I'm just
I
kidding.
I never have New Year's resolutions because they're stupid. Like if people out there can flame me for it, that's
Wait,
fine.
you don't like New Year's resolutions? No, I'm
No,
just teasing you.
no.
Um,
Like
oh
they're
my
not
God.
even like they're so. They make my head flare.
I will stop teasing you, Tiffany. But
You're fine.
I I love this. Like I think there's such a beauty in the difference of I mean, I don't even know if I disagree with you, honestly. I don't think I do. I just think I see, hey, if that's an opening for someone, right?
Hmm.
And they're waiting for a reason, that could be what they use. But it could not be too. And I think I do agree with you. Like we need to be mindful. Like it's gross sometimes people trying to profit off of what changes somebody may trying to
Yeah,
make.
and
Like that's gross.
that's where the deep hatred comes from. Because like I know legitimately some people are like, all right, it's a new year. I want to try and turn over a new leaf, and that can be an amazing starting point. But then they're just bombarded left and right by society and these all this fucking wellness bullshit to the point to where they're like, oh, is this even doable? Do we even want to do this? And it's just like, grr.
So one thing, um, I want to give two examples, and I think they'd be okay with me sharing this. It's not clients, just to be specific, but like two different goals of some people in my life that I know they have had. My grandfather, he wakes up around 5 a.m., give or take, pretty much every day. But he has this beautiful where he lives, he's got this beautiful lake, that he can look out at with, like, some of his neighbors, and he can look, and there's, like, it's moving water, and he just, like, turns on some music in the morning, and he, like, watches the sunrise. So my grandfather's retired, but he does this every morning, like every single morning. He's got some YouTube videos he's found, and like that was one of his goals. Is like he realized he was getting up early, but like how do you start the day?
Hmm.
He encouraged me to do it. I don't know if I would get up at 5 a.m., but I love my grandfather, so maybe I need to think about it. But that's one story of someone in my personal life with maybe a goal that they've done to kind of just change some things. If any listeners reach out and you give us permission, we would be happy to de-identify and share some of those things. I know one other person that I am close to um, took their Apple Watch off and their smartwatch off, and they just gave it up, which I know may sound kind of silly, but they were getting overstimulated by notifications and the data was becoming obsessive for them. So they're not wearing their watch anymore. They're kind of deconnecting in that way. And that's been really helpful for them.
Yeah. But see, I feel like those things are like tiny routines that these people visited often enough and checked in with themselves often enough to help them build compassion and make changes that lasted versus the like once a year reset.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I think if someone finds a small habit or a small step forward during the New Year's season, that's wonderful. I think take a step forward. We don't need to figure it all out. Um, I think for me, and you don't have to share anything to me. I think for me, I'm trying to just honor what I know is working or not working for me. And so sometimes that means at work, um, I may just have to say, hey, you know what? I think this is not the right time. Not, I work a non-therapist job now, do some therapy, but and in that job, I'm realizing like, hey, there's some times where this isn't matching my flow, like where I'm really in the right space, where I need to honor that insight and not like, oh, hey, I'm going home at 9:15 a.m., but like, really just like, okay, I need to shift this, I need to do something different. And if I can trust that and not be questioning my gut, um, I think that can be very helpful
Hmm.
for me. And that was one of the resolutions is kind of finding some non therapy work that's in mental health because I love this field, but I think I need a break from the level of uh, therapy I was the provider for. So that's kind of where that shift has come for me. Do you feel comfortable, Tiffany, sharing a goal or thing you're working on right now for yourself?
Mm. You know, goals have ends, right? Like they're
I mean, they can. Some can be time bound. I think some can be a habit uh, type of thing. I mean, I think it just depends on what you're personally trying to do
so
because
like,
there's no right.
yeah, my brain, I think, when I stop and think about it, my brain's like, all of these things are habits you're trying to form, but I'm like, technically habit forming goals anyway. The major thing major things I'm working on is de-stressing, incorporating self-care, not overworking myself, so not working past 8 p.m. on at least 3 days of the week. Um, Working out, drinking my water, eating healthy, you know, not sitting all day every day on my butt, despite the fact that's what I do. Um, those are things I'm working on. But yeah,
Those are wonderful things.
yeah. But that sparked a question, a hard question.
My internet is straight. No, I won't leave you.
um, What are your thoughts on surface level goals that people set to avoid doing deeper emotional or relational healing?
Okay, if it's the first trip around the sun, I think it's fine. I think if it's the fifth time around the sun doing it, not not worth it. That's my quick, honest take. If you and I think being trauma informed is like, hey, maybe someone doesn't feel ready to go deeper than that. Um, but which I honor that, and I'm not saying, hey, if you worked on the same goal before, not worth doing. But um, we all can really buy our own bullshit sometimes, and this is I'm going to be very mindful how I say this. Trauma informed does not mean if you've gone through a trauma that there's no expectations upon you in relationships, that there's no commitments that you need to fulfill. Trauma informed means you're acknowledging the impact of that experience. And maybe even still, if it was 20 years ago or 50 years ago, you're still acknowledging, like, hey, that impacts you as a person right now. Um, but we're in this kind of, I think, interesting moment, Tiffany, where the TikTok bastardizing of like therapy and mental health, it's like making the word so cheap to the point where, I can be a therapist in the therapy session with a client and they might not even know what I'm talking about because all this TikTok is one, inaccurate, and two, it's an angle. The angle is, oh, buy my light, that will help you be less depressed, or oh, buy my book, versus like in therapy, we can't do that. Like I can't do that. If I'm the therapist, I can't sell you products like I'm a therapist. Um, so
I'm
I'm a
a
little
therapist,
worried.
buy me.
Well, you're getting the one service, which is therapy. We have a very strict code of conduct for a reason because one can manipulate the relationship pretty quickly if one is not being ethical. So that's my concern, to be honest, is like, is that, if we call out our profession for a second, Tiffany, not all of us are equally skilled. All professions, there's gaps in skill, but there are some therapists, like, we have to be confrontational sometimes. We have to have a conflict with people. Like, hey, you've been working on this same thing for 5 months and you say that you're working really hard at it and you're saying this, you're saying that, like, what do you think is the challenge? Is it me? Is he, like, that conversation is on the therapist to be having. So
Yeah,
um
change isn't happening. What's getting in the way?
yeah, I get concerned. I think I won't derail us, but I think as a trauma therapist I get really pissed where people have turned, I'll say the phrase in a second, but this phrase is used in a, oh, like, kind of a joking manner right now. It's used in a, like, oh, like, justification phrase. And that phrase is, well, that's my trauma. And I get really upset as someone who has worked with veterans, someone who's worked with survivors of sexual assault, human trafficking, all types of things. I think they have gone through more, and I also want to validate people who have gone through maybe less intensive, and that's the trauma they know. But it is really dishonoring for someone to say, oh, that's my trauma, when it's like, oh, I got an in-school suspension one day, compared to someone who faced worse. And I'm not trying to rank whose trauma counts. That's not what I'm meaning to say. But our words do matter. Everyone matters at the table, but and also, like, there is a scale to some of this, and we need to, like, honor the difference of that. So that's my concern with some of these buzzwords. And for me, that brain kind of starts, is like, I think people weaponize that. I mean, therapy speak, and so you have people who are not going to work on things they need to work on. And I feel very passionate about talking about this because abusers are taking the language they hear in shows and podcasts like this one and whatever. They're misusing it. They're gaslighting people. They're using the language. So, like, I think we really do need to call some of this shit out, that you can't just say the words and change what they mean. So, forgive me, Tiffany. It's just something, like, it does get me upset because it's like, hey, confronting someone that's boldly lying, that's not gaslighting them to say, hey, you lied to me. Uh, so I just need to be really mindful with language, because language is power, and you see things I think are positive. Like, being honest, growing up in the schools I was going to, I heard certain words that are not used anymore today. because they would be shamed and they should be shamed if they use those words. So I think we know the power of language. Um, so I think it's just, yeah, find the goals that feel manageable, but just do you and those around you a favor. It's okay if you're not ready to make a change, and it's okay if you're not there. Don't lie to
Mhm.
yourself. Don't do it for someone else. Like, find your why. Maybe find that one step you can take. And I will just say genuinely, I have never met anyone who wasn't willing to take that tiny step forward, but I have met many people who weren't willing to take the step. Everybody was like, "Oh, do this, go to AA, do this, go turn your credit card in and shred it or whatever." Like, I've met millions of people, not millions of people, but like millions of people have that decision where they're not
I
going
was
to
gonna
do
say, like,
that.
damn, you worked with a lot of people. You didn't disclose
I just never sleep, and there's 50 AIs of me.
that.
Um, But I just wanna normalize it. I just think, because I think if we don't normalize this, Tiffany, then if you don't meet your goal because it was an unrealistic goal, well, then you're a failure, and if you're a failure and everyone's on TikTok like, "Oh, look at me, I've gone to the gym a million days in a row,"
Mhm.
like, you feel like shit. So you gotta be really careful with like, "Oh,
Yeah. It's that oh my gosh, reinvention culture. And it's ridiculous. Like, what's wrong with the new year same me but with better boundaries? Like, why don't we keep the parts that are working and just add boundaries, subtract obligations that don't like compliment you, multiply rest, divide by other people's expectations, like really focus in on things that make you and like focus in on your strengths and just like make you like it's you but better. Um I don't know. The last thing I have to say is I'm just really over the new year a reference of your worth as a reflection of what you choose to like fix, and I hate that word. But ultimately, you don't need you don't need a resolution. You don't. You simply need to give yourself permission to grow, rest often, and be a human fucking being for the year.
I beat that." Um, nope, there's no topping that. I think there's some further discussion here for those who are interested, us talking about, like, trauma-informed and goals and therapy speak and language, but I just wanna encourage people, like, just be, maybe just take a moment to admit where you're at to yourself and to other people. Um, and it's okay to try, it's okay to fail. Failures in the progress of
Yeah, it's
things,
how
you
you
know?
grow.
Like, listen, I'm not talking about Jeff Bezos, the person, but Jeff Bezos, the businessman. Like, if someone comes up to me right now and says, "I'm selling books out of my mom's garage," like, I'm a little alarmed and I'm a little like, "Oh, okay, like, we may need to, like, support this person." Like, failure is written into all of these things, like, we just hear the successes, so just be careful. It's not a Disney movie. Find what you're willing to do. Find people who can encourage you. Find someone you can connect with on this. Tiffany and I obviously are connected. Like, we talk real life off mic about how we're doing, what's going on. We can't be that for you, but like maybe someone else in your life can be that for you. And if you don't know those people, finding them. Like, it's just, we do better in community. We're not meant to be holding our breath, being alone. But I look forward to the new year. I want to just say thank you for those who are listening. We were excited. Tiff and I were really looking back. We've had a lot of growth this year, just in those who are engaging with us, listening to us, and that just means a lot to us. Like, we just try to be mindful. We're grateful. So thank you for those who are here with us, and we look forward to supporting you in the new year.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Deciphering Growth. We hope you found our conversation helpful and insightful. Subscribe to our podcast for more episodes and check out our Patreon for more content. Don't hesitate to contact us on social media if you have any questions or comments. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep growing.